And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather Show, coming at you once again with the freshest, most comprehensive 24-hour coverage of the closest star, space weather, Earth weather, everything in between, from the Smash News Network least busted name. In news, this is the past 24 hours from Solar Dynamics Observatory. Today we're starting out with classic wavelengths of ionized iron and helium, 171 plus 304 angstroms. Let's take a look at the North Polar region first. We've got some filamentary activity around the North Polar area there, a crown prominence happening. Also a bunch of new sunspots on the eastern limb and huge filaments on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. The most exciting place is currently this northeastern area. The likelihood of solar flares remains quite high up there, quite high indeed. There's the equatorial zoom, and we've also got action happening in the southeastern hemisphere, the southeastern quadrant, I guess I'll say. Several sunspots down there. Also, you can see a CME popping off, and a new sunspot rose north of those older sunspots. So just coming over the limb there, another sunspot. We've got a big uptick in the sunspot number coming. And here's the South Polar region. And just to give you an idea of how large a small solar feature is, a quote, small solar feature, like that little crown prominence down there. I mean, it's small, I guess. And by small, I mean 5 Earth diameters in height. So anyway, that's what's going on. A little snapshot of the closest star. And let's take a look at some other imagery here from SDO. Here is the continuum imagery. And let me reiterate, that's a lot of sunspots just in a tiny portion there of the Earth-facing solar disk, all in the eastern hemisphere. So quite a few sunspots here showing up, and many of those have not been counted yet. So, by the way, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to press the like button. If you're new to the channel, press the subscribe button. Thanks to our friends and foes who are avid viewers of the content. It's only the world's most comprehensive daily space weather video and most detailed solar imagery in the known universe. If you want to support the channel, consider becoming a member of the Smash Team at smashomash.com/SmashTeam. There's a bronze level. There's a silver level. There's a gold level. Get additional content and email notifications from smashomash.com/SmashTeam, our custom subscription services site launched back in October of 2021. Here comes some more paid endorsements, starting with our Hemp Lucid shop. Enter the promo code SMASHOMASH10 to save 10% on your order at Hemp Lucid. SMASHOMASH10. It'll save you as many percent. You can find a link below this video as well as on our homepage at smashomash.com. There are some of the products available to you. Promo code SMASHOMASH10 saves you 10%. Another paid endorsement is the Amazon shop. Today's featured product is being cooked right now in our oven. Yeah, the curry powder. We're making curry chicken right now, and save a boatload of cash by picking up bulk spices at amazon.com/shop/smashomash. Don't buy curry in small little jars. There's a 16-ounce or a pound of curry for less than $18. Amazon.com/shop/smashomash. Today's featured product is, and look at the massive savings at the Red Bubble shop. Today's featured product is Croissant Earth Society. It's some advanced trolling. Check it out, 40% off of the socks, folks. It's a good time to pick up some socks and lots of other items. They're huge savings, as much as 60% off on some of the products at the Redbubble shop. When will you stop believing NASA's lies and recognize that Earth is not shaped like a pizza or an oblate spheroid? It's clearly shaped like the French breakfast pastry. When will you stop believing NASA's lies and realize that Earth is shaped like a croissant? Or a croissant? Save 25% on pullover hoodies. Save 35% on classic t-shirts. Save 40% on lightweight hoodies. $25 there for a lightweight hoodie. Stop believing NASA's lies, folks. Didn't you know about Operation Paperclip? Oh my God, NASA! The Earth. It's not shaped like everybody says. There's huge incentive to convince people Earth isn't shaped the way people say it is. Oh no! Links below the video to the Redbubble shop and on the homepage, smashomash.com. And welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Smashomash.com is our homepage. Help us out with clicks if you're unable or unwilling to open your cobweb-encrusted wallet. Visit us on social media, press, share, comment, like, etc. We'll see you soon on the interwebs. And let's get back to space weather. Next is volcanoes, and for some reason, volcanodiscovery.com is putting up every other day content now. Only showing 2 volcanoes erupting, so there's your list. Mount Mayan producing an unknown volcanic ash plume. Revenador in Ecuador producing a 15,000-foot ash plume. No eruption yet on the Reykjanes Peninsula, so all is quiet on the Icelandic front. I suspect there is some magma about to become lava on the Isle of Iceland, the island nation. Next, earthquakes. These are the quakes of a 5 or greater magnitude over the past 24 hours. This is the past 90 days. And here's what's been shaken. Tonga had a 5.1 at 23:15 Universal Time yesterday evening. Philippines had a 5.2 at 4:57 this morning. And then another 5.2. Not too long ago at 19:28 Universal Time. Today on November 20th. And that's it. Those are the quakes of a 5 or greater magnitude. Getting back to space, here is the past 24 hours from the SDO, 171 angstroms. So that is what's going on. And before we get to coronal holes, let's move on to some space weather stats. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux is now at 157 solar flux units. So a big increase in the radio flux here since yesterday's daily space weather video. Radio flux now at 157. So Solon.info needs to be updated. It's actually way up here. So big increase in the radio flux there as a number of sunspots pushing the 100 number there on the eastern limb. We'll get to it. Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard forecasting a little bit of mild geomagnetic storm conditions coming tonight. So another CME. We probably would have said something about it. See our previous daily space weather videos for details on that. Super slow solar wind right now, below 300 kilometers per second. So when we do see the next impact, it should be significant. Again, NOAA forecasting geomagnetic storm conditions coming tonight. Next, Earth's magnetic moment from space. Here are the past 4 hours. And we did just recently see an uptick in the solar wind density. That could be the latest CME impact. We'll take a closer look at it here in a moment. Again, first, the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space. That's our Geospace Magnetosphere movie. It depicts magnetohydrodynamic pressure. And right here in the last hour or so of that, you should see a little uptick there in the pressure. That's the increase in solar wind density we just saw. Next, Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. The past 4 hours of Geospace Delta B, meaning changes to Earth's B field. The units here are magnetic flux density. It is our ground magnetic perturbations map showing changes to the Earth's B field. Calm conditions continue. KP 1.33 is the global average of geomagnetism. KP 1.33 is the planetary K index. And moving on to the real-time solar wind. Here you go. ACE shows some missing data. And then less than 300 kilometers per second, following a small uptick. So some wild variations there at ACE. Let's just disregard that entirely. And here's Discover showing a recent uptick there, making it up to just about 30 protons per cubic centimeter. Also a shift in the magnetic field, so that could be a CME impact or a glancing blow, perhaps. But there you go, changes in the plasma temperature, changes in the solar wind density, and changes in the magnetic field there, all showing up at the same time. Likely CME impact, possibly just one moving past. Could be a near miss. So far, looking pretty weak. Next are GOES magnetometers. Those are still pretty smooth. Again, no space weather showing up here, despite 2 significant geomagnetic storms have been forecasted. Next, the top view ecliptic plane field plot. It is one of the house favorites for sure. And Earth looks like it's just about to snap into a North Pole current sheet. So Earth about to leave the sector of South Pole magnetism. You look at the latest image there. Looks like we're probably only maybe 6 hours out, 4 to 6 hours out from snapping into this North Pole sector, shown right there in green. Earth about to leave the South Pole sector, folks. So that's our top view ecliptic plane field plot. Here's our line of sight field plot. Here the sun's B field is depicted in blue, photosphere magnetism in gray, north and south polar fields in green and red respectively. And next our line of sight ecliptic plane field plot. North Pole current sheet is imminent in probably only a few hours, folks, which brings us to coronal holes. So there's the coronal hole scenario. Solar B field once again shown here in blue, coronal holes in red for south and green for north. And let's take a look at the views from SDO here once we bring up the last image. There you go. So we've got South Pole magnetism up here and North Pole magnetism down here. So that's the coronal hole situation. Let's just briefly cut back. So these are south. So these are south. And these are north. So that's the current situation for coronal holes, and let's move to sunspots. Again, the sunspots have not all been counted yet. So that's an important thing to note, I suppose. Sunspots not yet all on the list. And let's break that down a bit here. There we go. And let's break that down. So we've got kind of a low number of sunspots here. So it's only showing the Royal Observatory of Belgium's only showing about 78 sunspots. No, wait, 50, 60, only about 68 sunspots. So some of those sunspots clearly not counted yet. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Back over 100 sunspots, exactly as we've been forecasting for the last couple of days. So there you go. There's the 100-plus sunspot number. And let's look at our flare probability monitor and solar flare scoreboard. Ta-da! There you go. So sunspot 3488, I'm not even sure if that's a sunspot anymore. But we do have at least 1 or 2 new groups. One just rose on near the equator there on the eastern limb. Another group formed back in this area. And I think one there also. So we'll have another increase in the sunspot number. Probably as many as, let's see, maybe about 30 more sunspots by tomorrow. So sunspot number should be looking at about 120 to 130 in the next coming 24 to 36 hours, I'll say. Most likely place for a large flare remains up here in the northeast. Yes, that's the flare location. And we'll be continuing to show you the most comprehensive imagery from the Smasho Space Weather Station. Here's a 24-hour video from SDO. And that, my friends, is a solar maximum worthy number of sunspots per that amount of solar disk. So here's a little closer view. These sunspots in the south are not too shabby. We'll have, let's see, 3 more named groups there. So there's one group that I'll get a name, and then here's another group that I'll get a name. Oh, wait a minute. Here's 1, here's 2, and then here's 3. So 3 new sunspots down there in the southeast. And once again, the real action is definitely going on in the northeast. So this will be a new sunspot group also. It's already beta class at least. More sunspots to be counted up there in the northeastern limb. Again, that is also the most likely place for large flares. And let's get to flares next. First, solar energetic particles, no spikes in the proton flux. So we do have a possibility of spikes in the proton flux. We've got a high likelihood of large flares as well as incoming space weather. So don't be surprised to see a solar energetic particle event. It's entirely in the possibilities. And there's the GOES X-ray flux over the past 3 days. We did have 1 M-class flare over the past 24 hours, and let's get to it. We'll cut back to SDO. Here is SDO 94 plus 131 angstroms. Another 24-hour video. So that's not too bad, right? How about if we take a little closer look? And there is that northeastern limb. And mixed into all that activity, there was indeed an M-class flare in there. It was a small level M-class event. And before we move on to coronal mass ejections and solar flare and CMEs and filaments, let's take a look at a star chart. And before we do that, don't forget to press the like button. Folks, we need your assistance to get the content onto screens, mainly because of pathetic, putrid, disgusting, un-American, criminal, fascist, anti-business, anti-anybody with a brain censorship. So press the like button. It helps with the algorithm. Press comment, especially if we're making you mad. If we're making you mad, make sure you leave us a comment. Tell us just how mad you are. Tell me what an idiot I am and how badly I've screwed things up. How bad at forecast I am. How bad at forecasting I am, and what an imbecile I indeed am. Make sure you let us know all about that in the comments. We're very interested, and it really hurts my feelings. Ooh, I'm so hurt every time somebody says something mean to me. I have to cry for hours, so please don't be so mean in the comments, folks. Please don't be so mean. Thanks to our new subscribers, by the way, on YouTube. And here comes your star chart. That's what's going on overhead, Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Shut up that mutt, says Smash Staff. Shut up that mutt. A quote directly from Smash Staff. If your dog is barking, tell dat mutt to shut up. If you look up tonight, early in the evening, you might see the moon and Saturn close to each other there near the ecliptic. Both south of the ecliptic, actually, at the moment. Saturn and the moon, folks. Also, you might see Jupiter up there, lower in the sky, further to the east. Next day's solar system forecast. We'll show you where things are today, like that. Then we'll show you where things are in 1 week. That's where things will be like that. Next, the astronomy photo of the day, and it's just fantastic. The Horsehead Nebula. Also featuring this other nebula down here. That's NGC something or other from the new general catalog. A very bright blue star, a very naughty, active star. And there's the Horsehead Nebula, very famous. Featuring Barnard's star, and yeah, there you go. Some spectacular imagery there from, I don't know, probably a series of different telescopes. The very famous Horsehead Nebula, featuring very dense clouds of gas and dust, and this very bright and active blue star. apod.nasa.gov. If you want that one on your desktop, that's where to get it. apod.nasa.gov. The astronomy photo of the day, folks. And continuing right along, it's time to view CMEs. So our first CME to take note of is all the CMEs that have occurred over the past 24 hours. There's Soho Lasco C2 and C3. You're probably wondering if any of those are earthly directed. Well, so am I. Let's take a little closer look here. So here is today. C2 on the left, C3 on the right. There's one noteworthy CME coming out of the east. And that's pretty much it for the past 24 hours, folks. Pretty light on the coronal mass ejection activity. Let's take a look at Stereo A's view as well. Stereo A located out here. As solar orbiters coming around to make a pass by Earth. Solar orbiter depicted by the magenta orbital pathway there. Stereo A shown here in red. Here's the raw coronagraph on the left and the difference imagery on the right. So there's some activity from yesterday. Now into today. And that was pretty anticlimactic. So let's cut to our own custom coronagraphs. There's a 24-hour video from SDO, Soho Lasco C3 and C2. Doesn't look like it's on our side of the stun. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Here we've zoomed in, dropped the Lasco C3 and added 304 angstroms. I don't see the origin of those plasma motions. They look like they are from behind the southeastern limb. So those are not earthly directed CME events. And here is just the SDO imagery by itself. And let's take a look at filaments. Yes, filaments. They've been known to turn into CMEs. We've been known to name them after living people on the channel. There you go. There are filaments from Big Bear. We'll also show the grayscale because it shows prominences. Again, quite a few noteworthy filaments on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. If you want to name them after living people, join us over on Twitter, x.com/smashomash. Name filaments after living people. Follow the hashtag #NameThatFilament. It makes sense to me. Naming solar filaments after living people is totally sensible. It's no less sensible than naming winter storms after people. So join us over there. Follow the hashtag #NameThatFilament. Help to speak truth to power. If anybody's able to actually see your tweets as the pathetic censorship continues. And before we get to bonus features, let's check out the last few hours from the GOES 18 SUVI. So that's what's going on there. And here come your bonus features. First, satellite charging hazards. We ain't gotten on it. Smooth sailing for satellites. There's the world map. No surface or internal charging hazards. The GOES electron flux here kind of low. Just in moderate operating levels. There's the 1 year graph. We are in low to moderate range for the relativistic electrons. There is the forecast model. NOAA's expecting a dip, but then again, they're expecting CME impacts also. So maybe we'll see some this time. The most recent forecasts have been a dud. Both NOAA and I think Tamitha Skov all forecasted CME impacts. It has been barely anything showing up on the signals. Next, our ionosphere data. There's a diagram of atmospheric layers. Feel free to pause the video on this frame. And there's the ionosphere vibrational frequency. The ionosonde from Australian Government of Bureau of Meteorology. So a lot less low-frequency anomaly on here than we would have expected, as we expected a CME impact and a significant geomagnetic storm. We ain't got none. Here's the anomalygram, anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. And a lot less red on there than we thought. A lot more normal-looking ionosphere. So maybe we'll see a CME impact tonight. The most recent one was barely even noticeable in the solar wind data. There's the latest image. This video was produced around 22:45 Universal Time. There's the anomalygram, and there's the ionosonde. Next, we'll show the WAM, the whole atmosphere model, depicting total electron content and anomaly on the left, maximum usable radio frequency on the right. It should help our GPS and radio operators who've been fortunate enough to realize that our channel exists. Before we move on to the total electron content by itself, we'll pause to show another diagram, distances in miles here to portions of the geospace, like the inner and outer Van Allen belts. The distance to GPS satellites is about 12,500 miles from the surface. Here's our total electron content global view, which has been looking completely anomalously for weeks. Not sure what's going on there. Maybe I should send an email, but at the moment it just looks wrong. Here's the anomaly in total electron content from the 10-day average, just for North America, which looks a little bit more believable. And quite a bit of high electron anomalies here happening over North America. We'll let it play through one more time, and we'll close out space weather with the latest high-res images of El Sol. So here are the magnetic fields. There are a lot of sunspots, especially in the northeast. And also at least 3 new sunspots that have not been counted yet. Solar flare watch is in effect. That is a lot of sunspots in a little area. Anyway, here's the full disk rock back. And it's time to get to meteorology. So the first thing we're doing is going wave chasing. Our meteorology segments do all kinds of different stuff. Wave chasing is the first thing we'll do. The world's largest waves right now are about 33 footers here off the coast of British Columbia, south of Alaska. So those are the world's stormiest seas. This map depicts It depicts significant wave height as well as surface winds. There's the Southern Ocean. There's the mighty Pacific. There's the Atlantic. And there is the Indian Ocean. Let's switch to our regularly scheduled winds. Surface winds shown here. Jet streams shown here. Jet streams of the central world shown here. Surface winds. Surface winds of the west. And jet streams of the west. There you have it. A big W-shaped jet stream here over North America. Could that be because the Wu-Tang Clan is controlling the weather? Could be the Wu-Tang Clan. Just saying. Just putting it out there, folks. Next, clouds and fog over the Americas. So there's our shortwave radiation map. It shows clouds and fog even at nighttime. And we're going to show the Gulf states today as there's some heavy weather around, especially Louisiana and Mississippi. So that squall line is going to remain there, and there will be a continued number of storms along this pressure gradient, which we'll show you here later. There's our thunderstorms map. And quite significant weather there making its way across Louisiana at the moment. You can see tornado watches there all the way from Arkansas, most of Louisiana, and about half of Mississippi there showing tornado watches. Weather.gov is where to get your warnings if your location is lit. Head to weather.gov, the National Weather Service homepage, and click your location. That is where the warnings are, and here comes some forecasts. So the first thing we'll show would be the GFS 72-hour pressure and precipitation forecast as snow moves into the northern Rockies. Next, our GFS accumulated positive snow depth change forecast. New England going to see some snow. Also Colorado and many of the northern Rocky states. A little bit around the Great Lakes as well, and also some in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and New York. Total accumulated positive snow depth change in inches based on the GFS 72-hour model. Next, total accumulated precipitation and heavy rains here coming to Mississippi and Alabama, especially some in Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia also. Some rains there as high as 4 inches in the forecast. Last but not least, the temperature anomaly forecast in degrees Celsius based on the same model we showed all GFS 72-hour models. We show 72-hour forecasts because they tend to be accurate. I know, factual information, it's very controversial. That's temperature anomaly forecast in degrees Celsius. And we're going to close this thing out. But first, lightning for the past about 10 hours. Again, some heavy lightning there, especially in Louisiana. And here's a real-time lightning map. We've zoomed in, since we've got some terrestrial strikes there. There you go. Some fresh lightning bolts happening there in Louisiana. Here's your full lightning map. And some very cold cloud tops there. Some major motion happening there, likely producing damaging wind and hail, possibly tornadic activity there north of Natchez and moving east-northeast. So 2 major cells there heading toward Jackson, actually. There's your full 50-state view. We'll focus on the lower 48 view and close this thing out with clouds and fog. And the water vapor. So here's that pressure gradient I was talking about right here. You can see this dry mass of air butting up against this, creating a huge pressure gradient there behind that low. Here's a recap, U.S. Doppler radar. Satellite view of clouds and fog, infrared radiation in the shortwave. And there is the water vapor, and here is me closing out. Thanks for tuning in. Congratulations once again on realizing the daily space weather show exists. I'm headed back to the bunker because I've become spooked of space. People kept telling me the sun is going to shut down. I keep coming in and out of the bunker. I don't know which way is up anymore, folks. So anyway, I'm going to head down. I'm going back to the bunker again. Lots and lots of stupid stuff encourage me to climb in.